Hi everybody, Dr. Wolf here. I wanted to record a quick video introduction to this module to talk a little bit about coping skills, but specifically what coping skills are not. So we're going to focus this module on coping skill development and types of rest. And the reason why I do that is because I know that for the vast majority of you, right, in the room, you are part of the term that we've used this semester for the worried well, right? And that you may know people in your lives who have any of the conditions that we've talked about, or you may have the conditions that we've talked about. But I also know you all come, or at least for those of you who are students from the United States, you all come from our K through 12 school system where we don't do enough socio-emotional learning, where we're not teaching kids how to self-regulate, we're not teaching kids how to cope or stress management skills and stuff like that. Some schools do, but the vast majority of the schools, K through 12, means that in no academic setting have you actually examined, right, what are the functional skills that we call coping skills or rest behaviors or stress management techniques and all of that. So that's why we're focusing this whole last module on that, is to give you time to apply some of the things that we've learned to yourself, right? And to take that moment to kind of delve a little bit deeper. And those of you who want to know more about the research around stress management and coping skills are welcome to reach out to me for even more. Just like every module that we've gone over this semester, there's always more to learn. But there is something that I want to make very clear, and that's that the coping skills or the self-care that we're going to do in this module is not the same as therapy or an intervention or even prevention. Those are all different terms. I hope that you learned, right, that an intervention is when we, and this isn't just about mental health, but when we examine that there is a problem and we need to address that problem with solutions. And that prevention, right, is first. And prevention are the things that we do for populations or people or situations that might be at risk of developing something, to prevent, to keep that either from happening entirely or to better the prognosis or lessen the effects. And again, intervention and prevention is not just about mental health. Those are terms that we use to describe lots of the things that people who work in a variety of fields may do, and not just with humans even. We also talk about intervention and prevention strategies when we talk about economics and ecology and business and all sorts of things, okay? So, but intervention and prevention, right, are strategies that are backed usually in research or practice, right, that are known to, especially in the case of intervention, be solutions for problems. Self-care, coping skills, all of that, that is not therapy. That is not an intervention. You can't, like, so in the next thing that you're going to read is a PowerPoint that I've kind of developed about multiple different ways that we talk about coping skills. So, and in those, we're going to examine ways that people may self-soothe or rest or recover or calm themselves, either in the moment or after something that's happened. But I think it's very important for us to know that, you know, you can't cure mental health problem or a diagnostic condition with just coping skills, right? Like a bubble bath is not going to cure generalized anxiety disorder, okay? Coping skills, self-care, these are the strategies that we use, and I do mean we because they are, while we have some research to back lots of them, the key is that they are an individualized process or a process that we do with others, right, in small groups, right? So again, either idiosyncratic or to you, idiosyncratic to your friend group, your family group, some, you know, small groups, right? These are things that we do to improve the situation that we're in, but they're not cures, they're not interventions, they're not fixes, right? Originally, the term self-care was about taking care well, actually, the very original term was about people who were in residential settings and what kinds of care they could take care of themselves. What could they literally do for themselves inside a residential setting? And then it got moved to talking about caretakers, sometimes first responders, mental health professionals, that we have to take care of ourselves to be able to perform the services that we perform for others. And then it also was absolutely applied, especially in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, for survival programs, or about what we call radical self-care for people who, maybe were marginalized or isolated and were unable to access care networks, professional care networks. And there's an article that talks a little bit more about the history, and you're welcome to look at that, right? But that what we're talking about, right, this term, self-care and coping, especially self-care and wellness, those terms have really become like co-opted by industry, right? And so now we talk about what's called either like wellness marketing or wellness washing, right? Which is where companies are trying to sell you, right, ways of taking care of yourself, right? They're trying to sell you something that is supposed to improve your whole life, right? Like if you just take this course on yoga, you will be able to be finally happy and healthy. Or if you just buy this body wash or this bath bomb or this journal or this notebook or this book, right? That you will finally have work-life balance. You will finally be able to have self-care and free time and leisure time and all that kind of stuff. That is wellness marketing, right? That is where an industry, corporations have decided to try to market to you this thing that is actually important, and that a lot of the things that they're marketing don't do that at all, right? It's similar to the greenwashing or pink washing or rainbow capitalism that we talk about in other situations, right? Where again, corporations are trying to make it look like their products do the thing or are ethical, right? When they actually either are completely neutral or not, right? So I think it's really important to recognize that the skills that we do, the things that are actually good for self-care and coping, you take no props, cost no money, that sort of stuff. But what we really have to examine, right, is that taking care of yourself is about, again, either idiosyncratically yourself, your support network, your family, your friends, that sort of thing. It's not about the system that we live in. And the reason why self-care doesn't work for everybody, isn't a cure-all, isn't an intervention, is because it doesn't address the sick systems that many of us live in or the lack of access that many of us experience. What we need to do, right, is have affordable physical and mental health care and access to that, right, along with access to the time, the leisure time to be able to do some of these self-care, rest, and coping skills, right? There's, lots of people say, we all have the same 24 hours, and we don't, because not everybody has the same access. Not everybody has the same abilities, right? And so that's not actually accurate. So what I'm saying is that taking care of yourself, specifically for this course, taking care of your psyche, taking care of what's going on in your mind about that and its connection to the body, taking care of the body, those are all really good, important things. And they will help if you are part of the worried well and you have very low symptoms, symptoms that don't negatively impact your life in a way that meets diagnostic criteria. Coping skills and self-care could reduce your symptoms to where you are even more functional. If you have a diagnostic condition, self-care and coping skills will help reduce some of those symptoms, or will help reduce some specific symptoms, or will make certain situations more manageable. But again, they aren't a cure. They aren't interventions. They could be argued are prevention, but they're a completely separate thing from cures and intervention. So, but I do encourage all of you, regardless of who you are, because I make this course for everybody. I don't know you personally. So whoever you are out there, I think it is important for you to examine all the different ways that you could perform coping skills for yourself. Select the ones that are actually feasible for you, test them out, see how they work, and keep a list of those so that when you're in crisis, you have them. And to recognize that sometimes self-care is literally changing your breathing, right? Like sometimes a coping skill is literally remembering to breathe, because like when we're stressed, we hold our breath or we breathe so shallowly up here that our body, right, continues the stress process, right? So little things like that. Sometimes it's making sure that we are as physically healthy and hydrated as possible for us and the situations that we live in. But that to also recognize that self-care, coping skills, they're not cure-alls, and deep breathing and a bubble bath and a nutritious sandwich is not going to solve all of the problems. It won't hurt, but it can't cure, right? Everything, right? So they are important. They are critical skills. They are important skills for you, especially those of you who are young people, to practice and work and develop. They are especially important skills for those of you who are going into industries that have high burnout ratios, right? But remember, they can't fix a sick system. They can't provide access to healthcare, right? They can't make healthcare more affordable, and they aren't a cure-all, right? They are literally just skills to help you improve the situations that you are in currently the best way that you can with the resources that you have, okay? If you want to know more, I've put extra links in the document that you're viewing this on, right? For you to read more, and you always can hit me up on the FAQ board for us to talk more about this as a concept, right? I just encourage you to start having that watchful eye for things that might be wellness washing or wellness marketing or wellness capitalism, as opposed to actual strategies. Okay, I hope you enjoy this module. I hope you do take some time in your schedule, however much you're able to perform some of these skills and rest and reflect on these so that you can build some skills that are good for you that you can continue to use over the course of your life. All right, with that, I'll see you online.